monthly
Powwow.
get to know each other, get together,
Yeah.
develop a better relationship type of meetings.
Dick put together a list of things to talk about.
Okay.
So, if you want to come up here, again. I think good. You put together a list of like talk about maybe your population.
Yeah, and there's going to be a presentation at the board meeting on Wednesday from the Department of Wildlife.
Okay.
About that. So we can, and I don't mean to interrupt you, there's a couple of issues surrounding that, obviously, with all this stuff.
Well, I know we had someone in our meeting, Mr. Shortstop came and asked to help hold a herd or to do something.
Yeah, and that kind of started about a year ago, I think. We left together, you had 5 deer out there at 17 and all at once. And they are becoming a problem in terms of overpopulation. My personal opinion.
Well, the problem we're having is that there's such a large herd in town.
Yeah.
And we can't have plenty in town. So I think talked about this last time.
Yeah.
And how do we need to work together with the town and the county to get with DOW and see if we can figure out.
Well, we met with DOW or Wildlife Rep a couple weeks ago. One of the things that he mentioned is the county has that 10 acre restriction. Right. And so one suggestion he had is maybe reducing that for bow hunting or whatever. That might help the problem. He's also talking about maybe doing like a baiting program. Baiting deer, he'd obviously have to get approval from the state to draw them out of town anyway, and then maybe get permission for hunting over bait type of thing to within the herd. So if he decides to proceed with that sort of thing, he may be looking for our support.
What's interesting though with deer in general, deer are going to respond to pressure more than they're going to respond to baiting because there's already food in town. If we can pressure them, just like a hunter moves through, it's almost like you want your hunters to start in town and drive them out. They actually do respond to pressure that way, but they can't harvest.
That's why in the hunting season, after the opening day, everybody says that the animals are so smart because they go to private land.
Yeah.
And everybody says, wow, because they know that. Can they breathe? Well, no, they get shot at over there, and they don't get shot at over there, and they pretty quickly figure, instinctively they figure
And there has to be an alfalfa pile somewhere too, right?
yeah, that's what I think. But we did go through a review here, just was it Larry last week, wasn't it, on the zoning regulations that we have. And to be quite frank with you, the regulations that are in place that everybody kind of hangs their hat on in our county, about 10 acres, and really have very little teeth to it. Because the state regulations, which we don't oversee, say that the rule is you have to ensure that you can't shoot a firearm on less than 10 acres unless, it says, unless you can ensure that the projectile doesn't leave the 10 acres. Now, I don't know about you, but I always found it rather difficult to track a 30-aught bullet.
But if you're shooting down from a tree stand.
And it is a concern, obviously, like even in an area where I live, over the years. I stopped twice on the way here tonight. But I don't know that we have the means to limit the take method, and I don't know that the DOW does that either, do they? They've already certified this hunt season. What is it called? The sea season?
Well, they had an extra season they added.
Yeah, they added it. It's already posted. If they didn't limit it to any particular take method, like a black body or a shotgun or a bow and arrow, so basically it's open. From their perspective, point of view, it doesn't matter.
It's kind of a lottery type of thing.
I don't think it's a draw. I think it's a
It is-
over the counter.
It is a draw technically because they want to track the animals harvested. So what it is you submit your name somehow, you do get it over the counter, then you have to actually take that back in if you want to get a second. So they're
It's
tracking.
unlimited.
Yeah,
And what they're not doing, there's no point system. In Colorado, there's a point system. If you drawing, you get a point, you have preference points for the next year. They're not using the point system, but you have to
sign up for the program.
sign up for it.
Register yourself for the program because you have to prove you've got your hunter safety, you've got to prove all of those things. What you guys could do technically though, couldn't they put a layer on top of the town and say these tags are issued for all of Elbert County, we're going to restrict it to, in the city limits?
I don't know, you guys know that?
I don't know, we don't have projectiles or, I think the difficulty becomes, even with a bow, children and even guys in orange uniforms walking around. I don't think we can have that type of process. The things we've done is we prohibit deer feeding, wildlife feeding.
It's also illegal under the DOW.
It's as well. But I know we're getting kind of a good pressure from our base saying, what can we do? And I don't know if there's anything we can do other than,
We have kind of an expert for him right now, and he happens to live in the middle of that deer camp. Bob, how would you call that herd down there in the neighborhood,
If I was doing it,
if you were doing it?
well, I'm in unincorporated Elbert County, which is just outside of Elizabeth. I'm a Gold Creek Meadows. I'm the HOA president there.
right,
And anyway, we have hunters there already that are archery hunting. We hunt them with bows, which is legal.
But with special dispensation from Division of Wildlife,
No,
can we run them out of this town and towards your place?
No, you just apply for a license for during the limited license season for 105. You get a license and go hunt.
So we can encourage them to.
Now, I don't know what you can do in Elizabeth, but it's just what it is. I
There's
mean,
no acreage restriction?
pardon?
There's no acreage restriction?
No.
on the SBA?
No. Well, we've got a bunch of trees, excuse my French, but we've got tree hubbers in my community, and they don't like it, but that's just TS, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you gotta call it herds. If you take a good look at the herds that we've got now, the inbreeding is so bad. We've got a bunch of mutant deer.
We do, we've got a lot of
And the gene pool is just terrible. I've been hunting ever since I was 12 years old, and I've hunted all over the country and, other countries and so forth. I've never seen it as bad as it really is right now in our community. I mean, my wife the other day, they got all the roses and everything else, you know. And then let me tell you something, you don't screw with my wife. And it's...
We get one brutal winter too, and all those animals.
What we did was we put up an electric fence around some of the flowers and the gardens and so forth, and that solved the problem. But we do hunt.
Do they ever suspend with the baiting rule?
Baiting?
Yeah, putting attraction on the trees or
God, the deer are everywhere. You don't have to bait
They're
it.
trying to bait them out of.
yeah, trying to draw them out of the we bought them over to your place.
The deer have a routine. I mean, you could collar one and you could put a GPS on it, and you'd see every 3-4 days they have a circuit.
Mule deer are territorial, they'll stay close for their whole life.
Right, I mean, they have
Versus the
home range.
whitetail that'll
Yeah.
roam.
no, we have two
states.
herds in town.
Okay.
There's actually one over by the Gold Creek sewer. We've got two that kind of run, one up on the hill on Pine Ridge and one along the creek.
Yeah, I mean, they stick to their home range. And,
Yeah, the mule deer.
The stomach rules.
And the reason DOW is doing what they're doing is they statistically, the purpose of DOW, the numbers of draw permits that are issued every year based upon conditions and surveys, are to replace the lack of natural predators in an area. There's a science to what they do.
Yeah.
They don't just come in and say kill 5,000 deer, for the fun of it. They have a purpose in doing so. And their purpose is to reduce the herd to a manageable level to where the herd can thrive and it doesn't cause the kind of problems we're having here. So, there's a lot of extra deer in this area, and where I live, I mean, I get 23 deer in the backyard. You know. The other issue about hunting, and in places like Michigan, where I'm from, you know, they restrict, take the things like shotgun slug, which isn't ideal, can still go a long way, but it's not going to be 30-06 or 223. Bow and arrow, one of the issues with bow and arrow, I'm a bow hunter, is unfortunately, not to sound grotesque or make anybody uneasy, but the animals will routinely go a distance once you're hit. And you have the issue of trespassing coming into when you're hunting in these small areas with 10-acre lots. You end up with a deer on somebody's back porch. You're technically required by law, under DOW, to retrieve that animal or make every honest effort to do so. But there's also the issue of trespass. If that deer crosses into somebody's property, who doesn't necessarily agree with what you're doing. So there's a lot of potential problems here.
We also have the issue of mainly the rural towns, people are hitting on 86 and they're crawling into people's backyards, and our police have to go in and utilize them. I mean, we've actually funded special, that's for our budget, because we're having such a problem with it.
Well, you know, I killed that deer up in Walmart's arena, and that was deer related. Deer ran out in front of the motorcycle. So those things don't happen, but, you know, again, it's becoming quite a problem.
So you had a meeting with them the other day, right? Are they interested at all, or have any suggestions? Or?
Well, he talked about the 10-acre limit in Elbert County. He talked about potentially going to the state for a baiting program. We could bait them out of town and hunt over bait, kind of thing, to call them that way. And those were his big suggestions.
It'd be almost better to do a control hunt like that. I mean, you get a bunch of hunters out there waiting for a bunch of deer on us, you're going to have a circular fires.
No, I think that's what he was talking about.
So you had Casey?
Yes.
He's gonna be here Wednesday, Doctor.
Yeah, he's going to talk to the board on Wednesday. He's going to present on Wednesday. Now, we did talk with the sheriff about and our attorney, Ray Link, last week, and Larry helped me remember something. And unfortunately, the 10-acre thing, there's a misperception there. If you read that carefully, it says 10 acres or less. It says no firearms on 10 acres or less, unless. Right. So the unless says you can fire a weapon, any weapon, as long as it doesn't leave your property. Now, if you shoot out your neighbor's chandelier, the sheriff will show up and you got a problem. Right. But that's a little too late by that point. So somebody can, theoretically, at this point, with our regulation, fire a 30-06 on the property, take a deer out on 5 acres, and if that bullet technically doesn't leave their property, that's a legal thing.
As long as they have a license.
Yeah. That's a deal.
A couple of other things we talked about. He wanted us to make sure that we're documenting health and safety issues, mostly deer versus vehicle accidents, to provide those statistics to him.
Okay.
To help give him.
Can the sheriff do that? Or the police departments?
Yes.
Do they provide that?
Yes.
Okay, we can track all of
Something else he brought up, and I'm trying to set up a meeting with CDOT. Apparently, there are some places that have come out with motion-sensitive deer warning signs. Deer walks up and they flash, kind of thing, as opposed to just a sign sitting there 24/7. He said that some places have had some success with that. So he
It's warning the drivers, or you talking about scaring the deer or warning the drivers?
warning the drivers.
Oh, I was sorry. Okay. I was going to say that last week, and then okay.
No, warning the drivers that there are deer present, as opposed to just having a sign 24/7 kind of thing. He said,
because there's one particular spot, for example, where Gold Creek goes under the road there, they have more accidents than.
That's a bad spot.
Casey Pond.
Along Casey Pond, down by the Dry Creek, and then right on the ridge between the cemetery and the Houston place where the big flagpole is in town.
Mm-hmm.
They cross there all the time.
I saw one crossing the light. We should be button.
Deer in Kiowa Sparta come through at 2:30 one morning, they're going across the school crossing.
Well, the other thing, obviously, concern, I buses out now this time of year. They're heavy on Road 13. They're really heavy. You go down Flintwood in the morning, they're bad. There was 12 large buck deer on the road this morning.
Well, I think one of the issues that we hear from our citizens is the worry about the circle of life, so to speak, the mountain lion, coyote. I know over between Safeway and Walmart last year I saw, which is unusual, an actual herd of coyotes chasing deer, big ones, larger than normal. And so I think we get folks that are worried about, of course, more of a town type atmosphere, or little dogs or little cats or little children. And if these deer get injured and dying and we don't find them, then we bring in the prey. And so that's a lot of what we're hearing about, is those kind of concerns. So, I think we need to keep working with them, and I don't know if there's anything.
We don't really have enough, we don't have enough natural predators to keep the herd where they should be. When it becomes a problem, the predator becomes a problem in an urban area, So it's a tough question, it's a tough issue, but it's going to happen. One of the things we had originally talked about, we thought would have been a great idea, is that we take experienced hunters, even with certification, take out disabled veterans or 4-H kids, and go one-on-one and go out and do this in an organized manner. People that are briefed to know what they're doing and know what their shooting ranges are and all that stuff. And try to do it that way, make something productive out of it. You can donate meat to the homeless shelters or whatever. But again, if you open up a journal season, you're going to have people on those tags. They're going to go out and take those deer.
How do these tags apply to out-of-state hunters? I've had a couple of people ask.
They cost more.
But they're still available.
Any license in Colorado is available to out-of-state hunters.
I knew that, I just didn't know if this special.
They might limit it per season or something, I'm not sure.
They do normally, I understand it, but under normal cases, since this is such a special season, I didn't know if they did this one differently.
I'd be honest, I didn't look.
I had guys on the pipeline asking.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There's enough.
Well, maybe we keep pushing them. You've met, you're going to meet with them on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, they'll be here Wednesday, Thursday. We are issuing a special directive to our sheriff's deputies on enforcement of the ordinance. And effectively, essentially, bad news is that the only directive they really have is they have a complaint that involves something violating the regulations, such as the bullet leaving the property. Then they will respond. We raised the issue of noise. There's some decibel level noise issues in some of our areas. I think 78 decibels after 10 o'clock, but nobody can hunt after dusk anyway. That really doesn't apply. So these decibel levels are hard to tell. They're going to be 114 decibels, and they're loud.
So we have a noise ordinance.
Do you? Well, So anyway,
Well, let's do one. There's just some things that people put on the list to talk about. The other one we have is about are you all going to increase the tax with regard to put a tax increase on the ballot? We have a question, so what's that about there?
We met with the group, school district, fire district, library district, myself and the chief. And the topic came up, somebody heard that the county was going to put an initiative on the ballot for a tax rate.
a millage increase. And there's three possible ballot initiatives that we presented to the clerk on July 26th. As per statute, we have to notify her in writing. Doesn't mean we have to do them, but just to answer your question, we'll know that answer on Wednesday, because the three items are on the agenda for this Wednesday's meeting. One of them is a millage increase in response to our revenue situation and our increasing expenses and where we are on we're there. We're down to the menu item. You want spaghetti or steak? And that's just a question for the voters. So we're going to propose that on Wednesday, and the board will vote for it. I can't predict how the other two or how the vote went up. The other one is a rescission of the pool tax. It's not an increase, but when the 1% sales and use tax was implemented some years ago for road and bridge, some exemptions were given, and some of those were for oil and gas, for tangibles, equipment, and all that. And in order to rescind that exemption, if you will, we through TABOR, right? As per TABOR, we have to put that to a vote to say to the voters, would you like us to include the oil and gas industry in the 1% sales and use tax? It's now being collected from most citizens when they do business here. So that was the other one, and then the other one was the 51st state edition. So those items will be voted on.
I think the reason that came up for discussion at that particular venue is the school district is considering a bond issue.
Yes. Did you meet last night?
Which one?
Oh, not last night. Last night. Here you're reading that. The school board?
Tuesdays or Thursdays,
Yeah.
It's this week
Tuesdays
sometime.
or Thursdays.
Okay.
Did you all talk about I don't know if you have it in here, Dick, the raising the rate on the ECA increase on the 911? Have you all talked about that yet?
Kurt's taking the lead on that situation, so I'm not following on it.
It hasn't come before you yet. Will that be this Wednesday?
It's not on our agenda.
It's not their voting, they need to know before the end of the month, right?
I think the executive board is meeting early September sometime.
Oh.
What little I know, but I could try just to address a little bit of it. We're currently paying around $38,000, I think, a year for 911 service, and that service has been given to us at a fairly reasonable rate through Douglas County for some time since we closed on our 911 center. We had meetings with them recently, and those rates are going to increase next year significantly. Correct. 3 or 4 or 5. And the honeymoon's over, if you will. And it will include $27 for every time our sheriffs call in to do a traffic stop check. And we're concerned about that because there's counties where they encourage their sheriffs not to spend the $27, and the next thing you know, you pull over Hannibal Lecter and you walk up to his car and you don't know who you've got. And so we don't want to endanger our emergency people either. So we're in a situation where we're looking at a significant increase in next year's budget for the 911 service. And we are also looking at, with Douglas County, going to a new software, a new program. I can't remember what it's called, Workforce. Remember the names of those? eForce.
Yeah, it's the same, I think we work with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, they're voting to increase the tax on your cell phone and your home
Yes.
site. I think it's 20 cents a line.
Right.
Yeah, I think currently it's 80 cents per line, and they're looking to go up to $1.20, I believe.
$1.20, yeah, something, yeah, right. That's true.
I just know if you all had talked about that yet, because you're.
That's my understanding, is everybody's going to go up about 40 cents.
We
Is that right?
approved
I
our,
think 40 cents per line.
we approved our representative to vote for up to the maximum amount, hoping that they don't have to do that much. I just didn't know if you all.
We haven't got to that point. We've had that discussion in the study sessions and been briefed on about that discussion. I remember I asked the question, does that include cell phones and everything else? And it does.
Because of where your cell phone's registered.
Is that where it is?
Yeah, that's one of the problems with cell phones is that the cell phone user pays the 911 fee, but it doesn't necessarily go to the county they reside.
And that's a growing, and the number of hard lines at home is going down. As more and more people go to wireless almost all the time. So, yeah, that's another impact on the revenues.
That's a good point. Mine goes to Teller County.
It depends on where you.
I've had my cell phone for 12 years.
Say hello, loud.
I didn't even think about that.
That's amazing, yeah.
And is there a way a person can switch it without losing their number?
You
Yeah,
go with
but
it.
It's not your area
Chief was
code.
trying to do it, he's
That's
had a
what I'm
hard time, he's had a hard time, he's told him like multiple times, and it doesn't, you don't have to change the number, it's just somebody,
Supposedly you can call your service provider
And tell them where to send that? Okay.
tell
I'm
them,
gonna try it.
this is my billing address, this is where I want you to.
Send
You know
those.
what? It's a good point.
That's
I've got
very
5
good.
lines, 5 cell phones in our
I mean, so many of us.
And I don't know where they're at. To be honest with you, now that you mentioned it.
And I looked on my bill, and it doesn't say where it's going. All it says is, 911 service fee.
How does anybody know that they all get it when that comes in? Is it? How
How
does
do you
it?
line item on your bill?
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm saying the recipient, the receiving county, how do they know that they've even received all of the 911 fees associated?
I don't know that you do.
Well, I think it's something we.
Without some sort of extensive audit, I don't know.
That'd be a gnarly audit.
I've asked that same question about the 1% sales and use tax. If you go into Parker and buy a mattress or,
Oh, you do
something that you
4%
couldn't buy here, you pay your Elbert County tax, 3.1%. My question, when I bought a mattress from CV Costa-Pedia or whatever, I asked that question again. I said, how do I know that 1%? How do I know that sales tax is getting out of the county? He didn't know. I don't know either. Probably have to bookkeeper sitting in the back room. It's a rather, it's like our it's like our gas. People think if you buy gas in Elbert County, that doesn't ensure that the tax for that goes to Elbert County. They base it upon the number of registrations in the county at the state level. So you can buy gas in Denver if you're registered here. Supposedly that tax, that money comes to us from the purchase of the industry.
Well, it's good to know, since you're a player on the ECHO board, I was just curious if
Yeah,
you know which way you're going on that.
Kurt's been attending the meetings because he's got the more extensive background in emergency services.
My understanding is the infrastructure, if it's not approved, it would be pretty expensive for the users. That's why there's the big push.
At a time when we can't afford the additional expenses, that's sorry.
So how about, you mentioned it in your discussion, the rumblings are that you're going to put something on out with regard, you said 51 state. I don't think we've heard anything about that.
It's just an initiative, and I got to ask you, I don't know about your body, I'm not sure presenting it or in any way, shape, or form. But I have gotten an awful lot, 40 in the last 4 days, emails and calls from people who are expressing an interest in that, without giving an opinion about whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I asked to have it put on the agenda because I think it begs the question, do people have the right to vote on it?
Is that someone?
If they want us to wear pink shirts every Wednesday, I guess we should let them vote on that, so, but, within reason, of course, but for things that are appropriate to give them out, and I think this one is. 9 other counties have clearly have voted it to be given out. So, yeah. But I think, I can't sit here and give you the gory details of it. It's available online.
We had to have a vote to determine whether it passed.
Yeah.
To refer it
To the
to
ballot.
on Wednesday, so
Okay.
given it's an open issue,
Right.
I'm not going to comment on it.
Well,
I asked Scott
It's
Gessler about it.
actually.
On a lighter note, I asked Scott Gessler, somebody asked Scott Gessler about it last night. And he said, when I came, I was actually, if I run for governor, I'd like to run for the whole state, not half of it. I thought that was kind of a cute response, but anyway.
So let's see, the next one is the status on the taxes due to town with regard to that. That's good.
The property taxes from 2011.
I thought that was from the 25th.
We have gotten, I think, I know we've gotten the library share. I think we've gotten the county share. I don't think we've gotten the school district or the fire district share.
Have you talked to her?
And those are the two biggest. The fire district, their board approved an amount something less than what you came up with at their last meeting. And I don't know what that number is. School district, I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. I gotta be honest with you, this question for this Saturday, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I thought, quite frankly, I was under the impression that we resolved it because the only question I asked in relation to that was, do we have any pending liabilities to revenues or expenses? In the month of July, and I was told that those were resolved, so that was my only feedback on that. That's all it's that.
Okay. Well, I know that we're pushing on that still because we wanted to tear down the Geeson's building based upon our budget representing that would be in our coffers. Understand it's coming, so I think we're just checking the.
Yeah, we can find it tomorrow. I mean, we can have.
Would it be appropriate to have our treasurer call you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, you know, what's going on.
Call it.
Okay, would you, were that to Rick?
Oh, yeah. I think that'd be the place to do it.
Let's see. Yeah, Dick and Commissioner, we're trying to set up a meeting with CDOT at some time, and we're wondering if there's anything that you might be interested in or participating in. We're hearing some rumblings about the extension of the highway. I don't know whether the rumor mills are not involved, but are they going to be expanding through the town? Is it time to start talking about we have the traffic plan that we approved at various levels. That was a few years ago. And so we want to kind of keep on top of that, particularly with the oil and gas issues that are going on here.
That's September 10th.
That's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for a study session prior to the Board of Trustees meeting.
This is different than apart from the one in Akron that's coming up.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That is on the 12th. I
That's a
believe.
regional meeting,
That's a regional meeting on,
right?
I think, September 12th.
Is CDOT coming to you?
That's what we're working on.
That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. We're trying to build that relationship.
Well,
Some districts change.
Yeah, and primarily because we switched districts from District 1 to District 4. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of get acquainted and find out what they're thinking on Highway 86.
Well, if they're thinking about it, we should be there.
What time's that? When you look
If-
at evening?
Yeah, if we can make it work, we're looking at a 6 p.m. study session.
Yeah, if you could copy all those, I think we ought to like continue to talk to CDOT about, one of the things that we talked about at one of our previous meetings a couple months ago, that I raised with the director about too long ago when we were in Denver, was that, when we asked them, first of all, what is your budget process? How far out do you project your projects to find your dollars? And he said, we're about 2 years. And so the bottom line is that the impact of 86, which is the CDOT, responsibility, we know that if we get a sudden onset of activity in this county, heavy truck traffic particularly, it's going to be an impact to that road and other roads. The county roads are our jurisdiction. We can negotiate whatever we have to do there to protect those roads, but we don't have much to say about 86. So the question is, if they said, hey, we're going to get potholes in 86, it's going to take you 2-3 years to figure it out and look down the road. And he assured us that they would address that issue, that they hadn't really thought of that potential there.
Well, I think that's why we want to explore it. In general terms, I think CDOT has said to us, it's our highway, it goes through your town, you take care of it. And we'll enforce you taking care of it, basically. There's a lot to that, but that's in essence kind of what we're saying. So we want to get ahead of the curve instead of behind it, to make sure we understand that. How does that?
Well, we certainly have a vested interest in that too. I think it would be something we could certainly join forces on.
So that's why I want to let you be aware of that.
Yeah, if you would, I'd like to do that. I know Ed needs, I think he has a pretty good relationship with CDOT, but on a different level.
X amount of size out here, what do we need to use to accommodate the traffic? I forget what our rate study was, it was like 10 or 15,000 car trips a day through our town. You know, I think with semis and oil rigs, whatever's going through on top of the buildings that are starting to happen, how are we gonna handle that? And
Have you been counting cars recently?
I don't know what our last traffic count was. We did, when we did a traffic study a few years ago, we were.
I think the underserved traffic study was 2009-ish.
And that was anywhere from 11 to 15,000 trips per
Per
day.
day.
It's ridiculous.
So the question is, what's the lag time of when they find out that it increased to that point?
About 2 years when you get on
Right,
the
so we have 2
project.
years to come up with, you're talking about lots of money.
That's if you get on the radar.
Yeah.
We may have to have a little bit of leverage right now, so it's important to stay engaged with this.
I think that would be good.
I agree.
If nothing else, you know, that kind of, excuse my took it back. It sort of goes in our discussion we've been having about the master plan and the three-mile reach, because if we do have some development in the near future around the town, one thing I think we need to make sure we do is preserve any type of right-of-ways or potential right-of-ways within your our annexation, your approval of a subdivision, or whatever the case may be. You know, we have a master plan that says we think 136 and 132 may be a good bypass, kind of going around the Walmart area, and maybe there's something out to the north. How do we strategize it? Not necessarily now, but in 20 years down the road, we want to make sure we preserve those easements, if possible, long range. I mean, so that kind of goes into kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, if CDOT says they want to go through the middle of town, I don't know that we can say we don't want you to come through and condemn the property, but if we say we've got an alternative that would be cheaper or more viable, you know.
Yeah, for instance, behind Rainy Creek Elementary School is our bypass for our second way to get across the bridge.
Is that not
Instead
the
of going
property
across
back
the
there?
bridge. Some of it's Naughton's and some of it's somebody else's. Yeah, so that's been in our traffic
It's hard,
plan for years now.
hard to purchase an easement from somebody who doesn't need any money.
That's true. And isn't interested in growth too, which
Yeah. So it could be a tough sell.
well, I don't know. It'd be nice to reach out and find out, because I do think an alternative crossing over the creek is important.
Right.
So you're talking about going straight across over there behind, like, where Running Creek is? Over that side.
Over the 17. That's what our traffic engineer is laying out for us. And that's been in place for several years now.
Right.
We had a complete traffic study.
No, would that be a whole new loop, or would you use the road that's existing now, the part of the south road? That's right off of Running Creek.
136, you mean?
Is there 136 there?
Yeah.
Part of the problem is the Running Creek Elementary is right in
Yep.
the middle, it's poorly designed.
Right over that 11-acre parcel.
And there's a property just to the south of that road that if it ever develops, we would like to assist in annexation and realign that so that they could go around the southern border of Running Creek, and we could have a road going around. Just trying to be forward thinking.
We need an alternate route.
Arapahoe County got pretty creative with some conservation easements and so forth, that may be some potential to approach it from a different perspective, where the upside is to expand the grain belt forever, and the trade-off is having a road going through it.
Yeah. I think we'd be willing to talk about anything, but that's one of our critical intersections in our street master plan, is at some point provide that alternative crossing.
So Clay, do you think that's something that we could add on our agenda? And maybe have Dick approach some of the property owners to see what's out there? Some opportunities.
It would be great when we have partnering up with us on something like that. My understanding is part of 136 is the county isn't part of it, is ours, so we
The
maintain it.
middle line.
And so that's.
Is that where the unincorporated line is right there?
Same way with Road 13.
It's a good question, can we partner together to
But
get?
now you're down to school. You mean to the school?
Yeah, but see, not all of it is annexed into the town, so.
Everything on the south side of 136 is county. Their property comes in basically into the middle of the road. And on the north side is town property. But there's a maintenance agreement that the town maintains that road.
I see the top.
Yep.
Same
And that's what I'm
with
saying, maybe
13.
if the county and the town could work on going around running creek. We're not trying to pass it, so we're starting a conversation.
Just thinking out loud, would that become a business district, or would you be diverting traffic away from your businesses?
I don't know if we thought about that.
Well, I think the potential exists to extend Main Street.
That was one of the ways to
So
tie
it
it
would,
to
it would connect with it, you could leave that on if you decide to come into town.
Yeah.
There is that
Which-
potential, I think there's that potential for any town that has alternate routes.
I think actually
True.
connecting Main Street at both ends, I think, might actually have the result of increasing traffic
On Main Street.
on Main Street.
and turn that into more of an economic hub,
Well, and then, you know,
possibly.
we also have the Spruce Street. That could go all the way to 1721 also. And then you would really, then you would connect the post office area, you would connect all that, so then you would have access everywhere.
And then you always have the Prebles Mouse in case it happens to live on the south side of the bridge.
The Beverly Hills.
Prebles Mouse, yes.
So,
You know, I was, not to change the subject too much, but I recently toured a water facility where they actually built a pump from one side of this large building, modern, actually a pumping station that pumps water, and that's one of the 15,000 horsepower pumps with light, by the way. And through this, they have a tunnel.
We have tunnels in our crossroads development,
Yeah.
down by the creek, that little mouse tunnel.
So I asked the engineer who worked there, said, you ever seen a mouse there? And he goes, no, but. But if you ever need it, it's there, I guess.
never need a truck. Okay.
That's another, that's just another thing that we're trying, as we go over the relationship, sort of looking at the, not necessarily here and now, but how do we plan for that future?
You know, and this is just a thought off the top of my head, and thinking about it for myself. This issue is so, at some point, probably, if we're going to have that, continue that discussion, we're going to elevate it to a specific discussion with a lot of other people at the table that have a lot more input into it than I would have.
So you would entertain us to start something like that?
I'll talk about
Get
it.
some people? Huh?
I'll talk about it.
I mean, actually putting something down and trying to get a date. You tell us who you want there and we'll figure out stuff.
I personally would not object to a work session or a study session
I think that's.
dedicated to that, or if we have, maybe we bring somebody in to present, the concepts. Because right now it's kind of cloudy about what it all really means, and what our first reaction was why in the world would we want to even think about that? But I think it certainly, like anything, is worth
Well, for
an
instance,
honest intellectual discussion about it.
for instance, if the Naughton property and i.e. the old Phillips Ranch, right? That's what we're talking here. If somebody ever wanted to develop that, right now it's county or they try to annex into the town, you need to be thinking about that because if you bring in, let's say, 1,500 homes, Highway 86 cannot handle 1,500 cars, let's say, down. You need that alternate route. So whether they come into the town, I would hope that they would because we have the services to give to them.
This might be it might be a little bit rushed, but it might be a good discussion topic if we do get to see that folks down on September 10th. Elizabeth Stolzis will be there. So along with, the BOCC and alternate route, might be.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can talk about that with Dave, or the player, and another meeting with us, just as a general discussion about how we do it.
And I was talking to you, I think you were headed to the meeting center about a seminar I went to this past week in Pueblo. And it kind of ties in, really,
I will.
maybe a little more
Slacking.
it may be a little more receptive to the conversation. I'll tell you why. It's because I went to this seminar. It was actually a seminar touted as a small government strategic budgeting. I thought, I drink a lot of coffee. I think I'm going to listen to that. Turns out that part was really lame, not very productive. But there was a component in the afternoon that I attended about intergovernmental cooperation. I thought we had to go sure. And it was fascinating. And I went and started to listen. And they talked about a lot of really creative things in these really tough economies. There's a lot of local counties are doing. Shanghai County's active, chatting a bit about how we share equipment and share a receiver and share a backhoe. We save money doing those things. But also there's a lot of talk about municipalities and counties and how they're doing some things to work together. Rush is one. And I even made some notes. I tell you that I was thinking about it. Yeah, I wrote down Elizabeth, so I wouldn't forget to tell you. But it was about, talking about revitalization plan and the kind of things that, business roundtable kind of stuff. And one of the questions I asked, well, who are all the participants, in a project like that? When people really get together and have serious conversations about economic stimulus and business-friendly environments and how do we lay out the town, and all the things that need to be done to really get creative and become more competitive. And they actually listed a bunch of things. You talked about the county level, the county commissioners, the planning department, public works would be there, Elizabeth Board, Elizabeth Planning, Chamber of Commerce, the schools, school districts. They said are really important to have there. Developers, surprisingly, is one of them. Emergency services, people from the business community, and special districts. Get everybody at the table and talk about these kinds of issues.
And I think that's what we've been talking about, right? We've been doing that intergovernmental relationship, right? And I do think it's one where we need to have a collective vision as to what we need to do. For instance, the development, where they have 3 annexations that they have a plan, but no one's put the shovel to do it. And it makes sense that we have a discussion of kind of before it's too far. Is this road aligned the way we need it? Are these the services that are actually going to make sense? Part of that development between Walmart and Elizabeth is in the county. Right?
Well, here's another issue, and I think that to bring this thing to life, you have to bring in professionals, urban planners. There's probably a dozen corollaries to this, whether it's Highway 50 down there or Highway 85 up here, going through Little Town, and the dilemma of do we build a bypass? Does that have economic benefit to outweigh what it strips out of your urban area and all these other things? And so we may be able to consult a little bit. I always try to get stuff for free before I pay for it.
We didn't tell our county to get
Sean might be able to shed some light on that kind of planning capability. You might be able to reach out to Fort Upton, and I mean, they probably resemble what will look like in a few years with regard to industrial truck traffic and all that kind of stuff. Being proactive on it now, I think makes a lot of sense. But there may be a way to have a bit of a commercial spur to your town that is mutually beneficial to the county and to the town of Elizabeth, and also divert that traffic around Main Street, or 86, I mean. So I think it's time to start reaching out to people that have had this experience and see what they did. Because you can do it wrong, it can be really bad. And so that's my 2 cents on that deal.
Well, I think that's, last time we met, I don't think we remember, that was sort of what we were talking about, is how do we does it make sense that Elizabeth sort of, I don't want to say control, but maybe the force of driving that development between Elizabeth and the county line to the west as far as developing it? And how is that all pointed to the county to drive that economic engine?
Well, here's the other factor that drives me nuts when I look at a map of Elbert County is, and I wasn't here when these decisions were made, but we have no county line road along Doug County, Elbert County, and it precludes all sorts of opportunities that would benefit your town and the county keeping traffic inside the county rather than having this mass exodus every day. Same thing happens on Singing Hills every day.
Yeah.
And now that we've made 194 really nice, we're probably going to be going out of here faster than ever. So, you know, we have to think about retaining those dollars in the town.
Pulling on this, I met with I did the Elizabeth Music Festival last week. We were there, and I was emceeing, and several people came up and talked to me from the Freetown area. And they said they'd love to come to Elizabeth. They hate to go to Parker and Castle because of the traffic and the people, etc. And they were saying how they'd like to come to Elizabeth because it's not as crowded. They can get in, get out. Which I thought was great because all we hear is people drive west, not east. But I think that's what we're trying to capture is the idea of at least that radius to come this way to spend money, get you guys money.
Well, there's an interesting news clipping, I think it's in the family somewhere, from somewhere around 1890, and the advertisement was, come to beautiful Elizabeth, have a picnic in the pines instead of going through all the brain damage trying to dig it up, of course, before auto traffic and so forth. And you had the Denver-New Orleans Railroad, they were, even then, trying to pull people out here because it's a really well-kept secret. You know, I got a neighbor who just spent thousands of dollars to go horseback riding and camping in the mountains, and when they got washed out up there, I said, just go back in here, go down on the Bijou, it's beautiful. It's just as good as going to the mountains, maybe better. It's a lot easier.
But the big struggle there is we don't have any substantial open space in Elbert County. That's the exodus that you're seeing. When you see horse trailers on Saturday mornings, it's because we're heading that way. Because there's acreage, there's trails, there's all of that. There isn't any. Everything's privately held here. I mean, that's why we don't get hunter populations. We get limited outfitting on private ground, and we've got no big open space in there. So
There's
it's
nowhere to
a big draw.
You know, last
Yes, we do.
Dear
Yeah, Ponderosa Park. But, you know, just last week I was out on the bike trail and ran into a whole bunch of folks out here. We were by near Franktown. And little place to stop and everybody's kind of stuff. And we all got to talking about that. I mentioned to somebody that I was from Elbert County. And people were saying, you know, how come you guys don't have a bike trail? I mean, this bike trail goes all, you can go to Denver, you can ride all the way to Franktown. You know, in the Castle Canyon. You know, and people are looking for places. You know, there's a ton of cyclists out here. If we had a bike trail running parallel to 86 in through Elizabeth and went out to Kai, and you know, just a 4 or 6 foot bike trail, you get tons of cyclists. I go out to Elbert sometimes on the weekend. You know, there's cyclists out, and sometimes there's 10, 15 cyclists out there at that little shop out there. Because it's safer to ride the roads out there. You know, just an idea. You know, when Governor Lamb built, C-47, one of the smartest things he ever did, he required that it always have a parallel bike trail. And look what it's done in Morrison. You go to Morrison, you can't even find a place to, you know, walk out. There's bikes everywhere. And these people, you know, they throw money in their little pockets.
I thought you
It's
had a
taking
trail
little spin
system.
and things, huh?
I thought you had a trail system planned for Elbert.
I don't know.
We have a plan. There's an old open space plan, and I'll pull it out and share a copy of it with you.
Yeah.
It's relatively old, and it would take a revisiting to find out if the land's even acquirable has been developed. I mean, it's the only one that I've laid eyes on so far is fairly dated. It's not ancient, but it would take a revamping, and then it would take a major strategic push to acquire land to.
But I think you need to understand that the people come in, you need to be able to be asking for that and follow those plans. Otherwise, the plans are no good. If you put them in place and you don't follow them, then you're in the situation right now.
Well, okay, I mean, I've been here for 3 months and just found it at the bottom of a box in Richard's office, so I didn't even
The
know.
filing system wasn't too good.
So, yeah.
Richard had presented that, I don't know if it was the community knows that or to the board. It must be probably 10 years old, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
But it was a sort of a master idea. Yeah, I don't know if it had the master plan.
You know, it wasn't, it was more a vision. It was a hope, vision, something.
They always call a lot of those plans guidelines. But you need to follow
And things
some of the guidelines.
If it was a good idea, and I don't even know.
Demographics change.
Through it.
You know, there's lots of things listening if you have a master plan in 1992 that's but it's a place, it's something that's a place to start. And I think those are the kinds of things we have to start thinking about incrementally. You know, we got to take one bite of the elephant at a time. We got to start finding out what is it that would bring people here and they want to be here and want to stay here. You know, I mean, I go to the farmers market on Sunday in Parker in Keene, near people from everywhere. You know, our farmers market is not so big.
You come on Saturdays?
Yes, that's not bad. That's one I explore.
Are you there on Saturday?
There's a deer raid ride, huh?
Before.
But you know, what is it that you know, bring here, keep them here? You know, it'd be great. Wouldn't it be great if we had an old steam engine locomotive running out here? I mean, you know, we'd be the Durango of the plains, but we don't, obviously.
So what can we do to start working on this open trails, right? What can we do to start working on open trails?
Well, and you know, it's funny. I actually just today got an email from one of the persons that I asked to send me something. I got an IGA between the county of was it Morgan and Brush? I showed it to you.
It was Morgan County and the town of Brush, city of Brush. I don't know how to refer to
That kind of addresses the whole thing. It was really, really well done. The young man who gave the presentation was really sharp. And he was surrounded by people that didn't get a chance to talk to him too much. But it was all about putting together a revitalization plan, a group of people to start talking about, you know, intergovernmental cooperation and common goals.
You know, Jill Downey's could be a good resource for that. She's got so much information.
She and I sat together at the
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, she and I sat at the lunch table together at this session.
But we can only get the trails out to our boundaries. I mean, we can get the trail out to our boundaries, but
Take a little bit.
well, that's what I'm saying.
You know, I think that the discussion about the 3 mile limit is critical, and I know you agree with that. And I know that we, you know, immediately.
I guess.
I would want to.
I can't bring it up, but
No, I understand. No. I'm not trying to avoid the issue. I guess the question for us would have to be, you know, what is it for us? What, you know, in terms of the county. I know you told me about the good neighbor thing, and I appreciate that. If we want to go sit around the campfire and make snores, I'll be a good neighbor. But that's
No, but here's my. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out on the
Go ahead.
Because we've been meeting now. I don't know when our first meeting was.
4 months, 2 months.
Huh?
This
2
is our
months
third
ago.
or fourth.
This is like our fourth or fifth meeting, right? And we've been doing a lot of talking. But I think we need to get going on some things here. You know, otherwise we're going to burn out. We're just going to come, we're going to talk, we're throw this around, but I think we need to get some meat on some of this stuff.
Can we
Let's do it.
focus in on the attributes that we have that are selling points? So we have the Plains Conservation Center. Everybody familiar with this? Unique features such as the KT boundary. You can walk right up to it. It's unique in the rural areas. Just as Crested Butte serves as a place for river outfitters and fishing guides and this and that, Elizabeth could be a launch pad towards some ecotourism type things. We have all these creek systems that run through the county. They're all gorgeous. They'd be great places to mountain bike or ride or whatever. We can get arrangements. Farmers and ranchers need the extra income. So the potential is there, but we have to focus on what we do have, and that's beautiful parks and pine trees and places to have picnics. And once you get off away from the county roads, you feel like you're in the wilderness almost, at least on my place. I mean, if I travel just a little ways, I never have to go to the mountains anymore because my recreation's right out my back door. But those are things that, anybody who's ever been up to the ranch understands that that's not unusual for Elbert County. That's the most beautiful thing about it. So that would be my thought as far as you want to draw money in, stampede works great. Other things are being tried. Sometimes there's too many things going on all at once. But there are certain things that are constant, provided the sunshine, 300 days a year, cross-country skiing in the winter. There are a lot of things that we have to operate that if we're all wrapped up and it has to be within spitting distance of your town, we're probably not being realistic.
Yeah, I think being base is a good idea, but I think going off the fact that Elizabeth is working on it, and giving them a place to stop going up for grading and very good. I think that.
Do you think they could lunch here in Elizabeth as well?
You know, I've been working with a guy that does pedal with the planes. He used to be riding Rockies.
Oh, right, it's still in place. You're talking about the one down in the south.
But now
That's the one next month.
Pedal planes, and they go
Right.
every year. They move around, and they would like Elizabeth to be one of their, not their major host cities, but as a stop. So they're bringing in like 4,200 bike riders. They bring in portable showers. They want a downtown that has a band that has food, and they're interested in doing the next couple of years, and they're doing it as a circuit every couple of
Right,
years.
it's like the right way.
Right.
And people, like,
That would be a
and I've done that several times, and it's amazing. I mean, like, I can remember one night in Hot Sulphur Spring, every person in town was out barbecuing, selling hamburgers and hot dogs in the park, and it was a band. I mean, it brought in a ton of to that town.
Maybe that's something to do.
One of the things that there were some certain things that we didn't have that they required, right? So once you get them here, they need to have a place to go, right? And to ride and stuff. So we need Elbert County to help us work for that. They come to the town and we can try to provide what we can, but then we need to contact them and let's see what they have out there.
Well, those major rides, the routes are relative. You don't have to build routes for those because they're major highways, but they use the state police and motorcycles to
They require a paved road for the whole course, for the whole event.
Right.
And it could be a 1
It could be 86.
It could be 13, 21.
Oh, yeah.
As long as they can get,
So-
like they ride from
Yeah.
Lyon to Burlington, and they
Right.
stay here overnight.
Well, the one down there that's happening next month, that we were talking about earlier, is going to start at the Highway Mark. First day, 67 miles, and then the second day is 68 or 8 miles, and the third day is 38 miles, and it's free time.
But it's not hitting Elbert County, right?
No.
So we need to start here and head that way or get them there and get this.
Just to go back to your enterprise zone, and let's, because I know you guys are interested in talking about that, and I don't want to keep skirting that issue.
Which issue is that again?
The enterprise zone issue that you're raising, and I know you're anxious to talk about.
IGA.
Well, there's two.
Yeah.
3 mile enterprise zone.
Enterprise zone is different than the 3 mile impact zone.
Okay.
Right.
The 3 mile
zone deals
free.
with tax implications over there, right?
Yeah, so explain what it is that you're.
Well, the issue you raised is the 3 miles. Isn't that your key issue? You want to talk to us about?
Well, I have a lot of
Well,
issues.
let's start with, let's prioritize.
There's one thing that we keep skirting around, I think, if that's what you're
So
talking
let's quit
about.
skirting around.
I'm there.
I'm trying to get you
I'm
to here.
ready.
Work with me.
Okay.
I can only speak for myself. But, conversation is cheap. We can talk, and I think we ought to, if we want to talk about that, let's single that issue out and not make it part of the 10 agenda item. Let's have a conversation. And let's bring some people, and if we can get some examples of where that's happened before, or where that's happened elsewhere, and, like the folks I talked to this week, let's do some research. I can't tell you that, that I would personally change my mind and say, why would I want to do that? But I think I'm willing to learn. I mean, I'm willing to listen to that concept. So let's do it. Let's quit skirting around that and get to it. Let's talk about it.
Sound like a good idea to maybe at least focus on that one issue?
Sure, and like I said, recreational opportunities, if we overlook that feature of our county, then we're missing out on opportunity. And I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, but the one before, I think I was emphasizing a misperception I had about the carrying capacity of your utility over there, water and sewer. And I thought there was probably plenty of capacity to hang on to if we find a venture, but apparently you're at your limit.
No,
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 we can
we're
take
not.
prices.
So we're close.
On waste
No,
or
we're
what?
close.
What do you both?
Oh, I think I said you were maxed out on water.
No,
Are you drilling some new wells, is that correct?
we have wells that are required to be built by the territorial development unless they break ground. Our sewer plant right now is only operating like 30% capacity. In fact, we need more because it's hard to maintain it.
Yeah.
But we actually have the
That's
ability to
more,
extend it
yeah.
twice.
It needs to be fed.
They did it.
No,
Or
that's-
is it drilling a well right now?
No, the well that's being drilled right now is a replacement for our Denver, well, the Denver Rock.
We're just recasing it.
All right,
And
we
in
should,
the well house.
okay.
The well's already been drilled, they're just putting in the well house now.
Yeah, it'll be done in September.
So, I mean, as far as those type
Must have
of
related to the neighbors there, I'm sure. I've heard from a few.
Yes, I've heard from.
Haven't had a good night's sleep in a while, have you? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm going to say with regard to infrastructure and resources, water and sewer, we're doing plenty of it.
Okay.
Where does your
And I think-
wastewater venture?
Well, and I was just, when you're talking about the trails, I think that is something that we're mutual on. In town, we would love to have them too, so I think that's definitely a project as a county and municipality that we could work on together. And it's something that we can all agree to, that we want to have, and that it would draw people in.
That, if we go up to $300 with that, demonstrating that we have mutual cooperation.
Right.
Could way up.
Well,
Right.
bringing part
Correct.
also. I spent a lot of time talking to JC at the music festival. I mean, if we bring all the players in and utilize our GoCo abilities and other things, I mean, I think it's something that can be done. It's not something that's going to happen this year because of financing issues, but again, you got to reserve the easements. You got to make sure, as we found with CDOT, you can't build a retaining wall unless you have everybody in the area saying that, you guys have seen that deed, that who owns it and the permission to use it. So there's a lot of work involved. I don't think we should be afraid to do the work and get it rolling.
Right.
And admittedly, I think that we've had a fairly narrow focus for conservation trust funds and GoCo directing right over here, where that's not necessarily the case. I had a guy from Sun Country ask the other day if he could perhaps get involved in building a public park up there on a piece of ground. So the public can get involved in that process of where those funds are spent. I think that's beneficial. The more people we draw in, the more landowners that are interested.
Well, your developers.
Developers and special district owners. I mean, you talk about a loop, you might find them willing to do that.
Well, clearly they have to do that. They either need to, I know the county, I don't know if it's to pay it back to your contributor land or something.
Don't you have a percentage that has to go to open space for itself?
Yeah, well, we do cash in lieu of. I mean, when we do small 5 acres, we don't want a percentage of 5 acres per se. And so then that gets put in reserve.
Then you're not going to get your trails.
Harder.
Then it's harder to get your trails.
That's the policy again that I walked in on. But when they have small pieces like that, it's nonsensical to retain land. So they do cash in lieu of, it's set aside. And at some point, there'll be enough probably to go out and do some negotiations. And certainly would be enough cash value in that as a cash match for a grant.
Something to capitalize on too is an aging population of ranchers. Okay, there's a fellow just on the other side of the county line. His name's Keene, and he's just put thousands and thousands of acres set aside for green space for Arapahoe County. The same thing can be done here in that families have to do this estate planning or lose.
landmarks that we could maybe market those out to people. Maybe it's the same type of thing, maybe the county, maybe what the town of Elizabeth, we need to figure out all of those unique places and then look at.
Who are the landowners that are in the plan that you're looking to execute?
When I decided to run for office,
Who
I
are the
figured out who
Right,
the
yes.
biggest landowners were first. That was my list. Who owns the most acreage in Elbert County? And the Red Book is a very good resource. I call it Red Book, but it's a plat book. It shows you who got brand new land out now. and it shows
You
who
Mr.
owns
John
every piece.
Malone? Is it John?
Well, John, that's a given. That's half the county.
That's happening.
You know,
Yeah, but I don't, my thing is, I don't think that it would be far-fetched to approach someone.
I don't at all
like
either.
that. I'm sure he
I-
would love to see something done with his land and be able to.
I think he'd be highly approachable.
Yeah, I think that would be a great.
in terms of getting focused on this, not just this priority, but, one of the things again, see, I wrote you guys' name down again, so I was thinking about you the whole day. Wow, I made a note. I did. I may act like I wasn't listening. I wrote down here, what is our mission and goal? Here at the town of Elizabeth to coordinate and utilize all of our available talents, our assets, reach of the parties to collaborate, help existing businesses, attract new business and partner job, and figure out what our long-term range, our goals are. And there's several people. One of the persons also sat with during the whole seminar and had a great deal of conversation with, who offered to help us in this process, is Clay Brown.
Yeah, Clay's a good resource.
Yeah. And maybe we bring him to the table for that.
Oh, Clay and, they come out, they're busy because they're going out trying to do the same thing in all of the towns, but
Right.
Clay's come out.
Well,
several times.
we did a lot of work on the bottom up, and that's went nowhere. I mean, that needs to be brought back up again. I know Clay was working on that last year.
He brought
But I think, because all of this was part of that. And then the
That you guys
state would
did?
help us.
That you guys?
Well, there were certain people from all of Elbert County. It was all part of this. You guys remember that? So you guys remember
What was
that?
it called? I don't know.
It was a bottom-up economic development plan.
Right.
The economic blueprint meeting that we're
The
going
blueprint.
to tomorrow.
The blueprint.
Right.
Yes, that came out of.
I know.
what she's talking about.
And so, we've done a lot of that. We got the public in, we had all kinds of people with a lot of knowledge and everything. And now, so that's sitting there. So a lot of the work has been done for us. And one of the things was trail systems and cleaning off of the horses and all that we have already here in Elbert County. So we have that list, there's a blueprint out there, and Clay is very involved with that. I think we need to get that back up and going again. And that helps us with getting any state assistance also.
And he mentioned Clay's a good guy for that. He mentioned some of that.
My goal was just looking.
He's saying lose momentum between election cycles.
Yeah.
So,
He only got 4 years.
That's what it's
Part of
trying.
our job is to get along a little bit.
We were trying to continue on with that.
I think there's a meeting tomorrow in line.
There is.
Yeah.
He's still bigger.
On the
A couple of
Somebody
these
from
people,
Elbert County going? You're going? Okay.
a couple of these folks like Clay, the gentleman I spoke about earlier, the young man that makes this wonderful presentation, really sharp. His name is Monty Torres. He's the city manager of the city of Rush. I'm really impressed. And we might, who knows, maybe get a couple of items and give us some pointers on how they got started and how they got the ball rolling, Talk to people, there's no point in us not being able to sit down and talk about anything.
Well, and Joe Downey, she's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of programs. I went to a meeting, it must have been about a year ago now. And it was just a general meeting of municipalities. And they have program after program. The problem is you gotta have someone who can take a hold and move it. But there's a
So
lot of programs.
let's take, for instance, the blueprint meeting that's going to be in Lyman tomorrow, right? So if we got 2 representatives to come back and report back on that, and then let Clay Brown, whoever know that, we've got this, and let's start working on that and figure out what we need to do. Let's not start all over again, but let's start with the blueprint.
We brought the head of Dole out, I forgot his name.
It's terrible. It's
Oh.
terrible.
He was fairly new to,
Gene or Dean, and it's,
Scott.
you know, it's a unique name anyways, and they were really impressed when they came up to Kiowa and Elizabeth.
Right,
And
we all
we walked in.
They sponsored it.
So, maybe we could do that. Is that Larry and Robert? What do you think?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
A lot of work was done on that, months of work.
nothing was ever solved by not exploring new ideas. You know, so let's
And Joe and those folks have some fair talent in grant writing
Yeah.
Oh,
and these things, so
so do we.
I found myself sitting on too many boards. Kyle's been doing the econ stuff over there in Lyman on our behalf. But there are these resources, and when you look at that several county area, what do they have to offer? A lot of sagebrush and desolation, but they all have to pass through you to get to there. And so we're trying to leverage that issue.
Gateway to the plains.
You know, I actually did invite the city editors and so kind of join us.
Yeah, I mean, they're going,
Yeah.
there's 24 is its own
Yeah.
Yeah.
unique environment.
Right, and Sema and
They
Ag.
associate more with Dallas and,
Yeah,
you know,
'cause-
but they're part of our county. And
Well-
I did invite him, he said he would try to be here, but if you know, so maybe one of our future meetings, we can let him sit in and, you know, I don't know what town council's interested, but, you know, it's the old leaky boat there. We're out fishing in the middle of Cherry Creek and your end's leaking. I better help you bail.
Because the blueprint also involved people from Agate and Sema. I mean, everybody was involved in that.
Here's the other thing.
So,
With oil and gas development coming, if we don't leverage that opportunity and multiply it, shame on us. We're not being proactive about it. You know, there's probably opportunity there for Colorado to do some water projects that would be beneficial across the board. But it'll be a lost opportunity. Money can just go away that fast, you know.
so what are you saying that we need to do with that, Larry?
We didn't have our act together, so.
We have to deal with
Yeah.
What acts are that? What is it?
Or else we just steamroll and then it's over with. And we'll say, well, if we just done that, if we just put a fuel tax on all those bridges that came in, and maybe that's at the rate of 50 grand per 10 rigs, $500,000. Okay, that's the,
So are you moving forward with something like that? Are you
so that's
exploring all
why
that?
we want to put that on our ballot, because that would be a missed opportunity that goes back into our infrastructure. It's going to get impacted by the activities, so that's something we should be doing, and I think we want to do.
And I think we did something like that already in the town of Elizabeth, where they impact fees for the roads.
You know, we've got some things that we put as a municipal ordinance that, you know, it's pretty, it would be pretty hard to drill in the town of Elizabeth because of the acreage and the sound requirements that we have, etc. And we
Even
talked about
the
this
passing
last
through, right? Even the trucks passing through the town of Elizabeth, I thought we had something for that.
Yeah, we have something on there that we can build it, they can't do it, we should pull that.
Right.
But at the last meeting, we were talking about if the county is going to proceed forward on the oil and gas, how we're going to do that. What we're talking about is the impact to the town with regard to if they're going to set up a rig, you know, a half mile out of town. For instance, if they go south of town, where are they going to get to it? They're going to take.
They'll be as near,
They'll come up from.
they'll be as near 1721 as they can get. They'll be as near to a creek bottom as they can be.
But if they go out south, are they gonna come from Colorado Springs through Wilson Mill Road, or are they gonna go through the town
We,
to get taken?
we can, in part of the negotiating process, we can determine their route. And we can say, this is the route you shall use. The route crosses lands that we don't, that don't impact us, impact you financially. There's nothing that precludes us from saying that that you're a referral agency, you have to evaluate the impacts, analyze on your road based on the haul route, and they've got to enter, they could potentially have to enter into a road use agreement with you.
Well, that's
In
what we're
addition
talking
to
about.
Ken.
Well, you
I think
brought
that's
that up.
And I think that was the question
Yeah.
last time, was used in Elton Grove Road, so I know what you're talking about.
water tower?
And the one that runs west, right off the, the water.
132.
Yeah.
That's 132.
Yeah, and I drove that, you know, and so I'm thinking about you, and your question was, well, if somebody applies for a permit on the road that we maintain, but it's in the unincorporated area, or right on the edge of town,
Right.
if it's 2 feet from our border, can we get involved in the process? Or if it's a half mile from, you know, so we didn't define where that boundary was. We kind of had a general discussion. The question was, can we be one of the
We're gonna have impacts to our roads if you allow them
Yeah.
to come.
And
There's
our
only
response to that
2
one was,
ways
you
to
know,
get there.
you would be a referral if it was in the county from a permitting point of view.
Correct.
And I don't know that we can actually answer that question yet, but in terms of, you know, saying definitively that anything within a half a mile of the city limits of Elizabeth in unincorporated Elbert County there'll be a different permitting process that includes the town of Elizabeth. I don't know that we're there.
No, I
Well,
think we were
even if
looking
it's
at
not half a
communications.
mile.
I think we were looking more for impact.
Right.
If this is a rig that's gonna go
If
in.
it's, no, I mean, I think that the overall vision, for lack of a better term, is that nobody shall bear an impact that isn't compensated.
Right.
Nobody, including.
Is that in writing?
No, we don't have
We
regulations.
want something in writing, I guess.
Well, I don't think that will, the regulations will be what the regulations are, and as the applicant on unincorporated county land, it will come to the county, and then the county will negotiate with them and say, okay, well, you've got to go talk to Road and Bridge. Road and Bridge, you've got to go talk to Elizabeth because you can drive on their roads. We've got to go talk to, well, whoever else.
You can come and talk, right? And we can,
You've got to enter into an agreement. You've got to enter into, say, a
and
mutually.
is that it in writing?
We're not there.
We're not even there yet.
But are you working on it?
There will not be a blanket in writing that'll probably spell that out specifically.
I'm not sure that
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
compensation. I don't think that's necessarily our goal. I think our goal is not necessarily make any type of compensation, it's more to control the impact or be aware of the impact. We need to get a better way of saying, if you have a rig that's coming in, it's gonna bring in 70 guys, how are we gonna service that? You know, I think that's kind of what we're looking at.
Here's
How do we
the
make
thing,
it
like,
better for you guys?
despite the perception that's been propagated, not every place you stand on in Elbert County contains commercially viable oil, okay? And the whole thing will be driven by the discoveries they make. So that's the big unknown. Maybe they'll get real big in their deep well down here by the L, you know, maybe not. Maybe it'll be right just as what they call really the donut hole up there. That's why they're drilling in the middle of town. That money will and activity will be driven by where the discoveries are made. It's just a matter of being prepared and having some foresight. And we have the ability to go up and look at Weld County and see what the impact has been and how they've dealt with them, good or bad. We don't have to hypothesize here. We have plenty of test labs in Colorado to look at and figure out what we can do perhaps better or.
Well, maybe I misunderstand. Let me ask a hypothetical question. Let's say that somebody decided to put an oil, apply for a permit on the BOCC site, right in the middle of town. Okay. Now that's in your jurisdiction. It's not ours. What do you currently have in place to deal with?
But we are.
Okay.
That's what we got.
All right. They're going to go to the state, they're going to open it, and the state, and I'm being a little silly perhaps, but maybe it's not, BOCC isn't the best example, but it's within your jurisdiction.
We have.
So what do you, how do you deal with it?
sound? We put together a noise, sound, and impact ordinance.
But there is no process for permits or review or special use permits in the city of the town of Elizabeth?
We can get that out, but I thought it was something else.
Well, that would need a special use permit. I mean, we follow our normals.
But I thought we already done that, that you cannot drill in the town of Elizabeth. I think we need to get that.
Well, I think that's the way we said, we had to put this restriction because of our noise sound.
We worded it in such a way that
So if somebody had mineral rights on a sizable chunk of land that was technically in the town limits, they couldn't explore those
Green
mineral
Creek.
rights?
Behind Running.
Yeah, it's an
We
impact
can pull
type
that out.
of, it's a zoning type of
Mhm.
regulation that they put in.
Okay, let me,
Corey's done it like.
let me better define the question.
Yeah, he's done it.
Somebody comes in and applies for a permit within the city limits,
Applies for what?
for a drilling permit. Goes to the state of Colorado, applies for a drilling permit. It's within the city limits of Elizabeth. I don't know where that would be, I'm not sure, I don't have a map. But it's 1,000 feet from any structure, which is the density requirements of the state oil and gas regulations. What if any, what can you do to help? What processes do you have in place to that
Well,
for a
it's not-
special use permit?
Where it's zoned, first of all.
So the big landowner that owns the land behind Running Creek Elementary, 1,000 feet from the school, 1,001 feet from the school,
Right.
who owns all the property.
You mean he's
It's
annexed
in here,
in?
it's in city.
And he's annexed in?
Right now,
But he goes and gets a permit. What do you do? What do you use?
If it is annexed in, yes. Let's pretend it's in.
well, they gotta go through a special.
Okay.
permit
And maybe there's no
process.
place like that in town, Elizabeth, that I'm describing,
There's
you know?
not right now.
Okay.
So
So I guess you maybe.
that's why we want Elbert County to make sure that you work with the town of Elizabeth, because we don't have
We don't have
any.
any jurisdiction in your town.
Well,
But-
Larry, what we were saying is,
We don't, I'm telling you.
I keep bugging about.
No, I understand. No,
He said that if we have a drilling coming in and they want to put it up 300 feet by our prize goal, Farmer Joe could say, I want it to be 400 feet. And I said, well, Farmer Joe can say, I don't want to drill anywhere, 400 feet from my prize goal. Can the town of Elizabeth say,
Farmer Joe is the super.
Farmer Joe's getting his goal protected, we like our school to be protected or our water source. So that's how we kind of got to that discussion.
is he on his mineral? Then we get into a long discussion.
Why don't we
Yeah,
do
it's
this?
more
Yeah, this-
practical
this-
scenario.
Yeah, this is
Right.
probably not a place, you know,
It's
but.
not.
Would be outside your town limits, and it all is driven by who owns the mill.
But if
Their
you're
right,
in this permit process, that's what we're
their
gonna
right
say.
to preempt the deal in yours.
So if
So let's
you're
do-
your permit process, you're gonna say, we will, fine, you can do it, but we need to be X feet away. That's what we're talking about.
Well, no,
The surface owner can create a larger setback because that's his right,
Oh, sure, that's
okay? But at the end of the day, the state regs rule with respect to all conditions. And,
But under your permitting process, then you were.
We cannot overrule state rules. And going back to his landowner, the landowner, surface owner, can request the state back. Mineral rights supersede surface rights. So he could say in his land use agreement, I want it to be X amount of feet back. If the mineral rights owner says, no, that's unacceptable to me, he can just bond on the property.
Yeah, if I'm the mineral rights owner in that land behind Running Creek and my name is Snaggy Whiplash,
Right.
what do you gonna do?
You were gonna fast track the permit process as long as they comply with certain requirements or requests, was my understanding.
Right, and the BOCC has not heard that. It's in the draft form, and this is probably not the form to talk about details.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? So let's revisit, the town itself, revisit the gas and rate resolution slash ordinance that we put into place. And we can get a copy to Elbert County. And then that will answer your question, what we currently have in place. And we can add that as an action item, because I'm taking things that I see that we need to walk away with some sort of an action item here.
About 14
I
months.
just wanna make sure we're clear that I mean, it's not, you know, I'm curious, but not sure what I can do.
Well,
What
I'm
is it?
going
What
to
is it?
satisfy your curiosity by giving that to you so you know what we have in
Well,
Elizabeth. You don't have to do anything.
I think Elizabeth, I like that.
Or you can come and get it.
I'm a
You
citizen.
can come and pay for a copy of it yourself if you'd like.
But in terms of setting an objective, we make a recommendation, and I think you mentioned that we can go on with, we can all eat a lot more pizza before we actually, make any progress.
Well, I think we're being recorded. I might be even.
If you don't want it on tape, don't say it, that's my fault.
Well, no, I said eating.
But, oh, I see,
I
eating,
didn't want to
oh,
say
yeah, you mean the thing in the, But, you have a bigger problem than the rest of us, you got it. But, in terms of trying to focus, and if we're gonna make our monthly meetings productive and meaningful, and if we can all agree that we do have some common interests and goals, and that we have reasons to cooperate and get along with each other, which I think we've already agreed to, why don't we set a meeting that would focus on the thing we talked about, intergovernmental cooperation. Maybe bring some of the folks to help us get going. And then in that meeting, we can also use that to set some priorities, maybe 3 or 4 things. Instead of talking about other things and trying to determine what our agenda is going to be each month, let's focus on some things that we all think are important. And then let's stick to those until we get done or come to, agree to this.
Here, what we need to do is get your planning crew, you folks, us, our planning crew, Alex and Corey,
Yeah.
and sit down and talk about just a journal of the AGA. Because that's going to take 2 or 3 discussions.
And get some of these folks in here to help us. Maybe Clay will come and help us and be a facilitator and do it on a public meeting.
Seems like this urban growth area idea
That's different than that.
really gets driven to a large degree on your capability to absorb the growth.
Provide the infrastructure.
Sure. That's where the conversation centers around for me, instead of inventing a whole new raft of metro districts in order to do this. Let's build on each other's strengths. And for some reason, I misread you before. I thought you were clear capacity on that tree.
I thought that too.
No, we're ready.
I thought somebody said at one time that we can't really keep over there correctly in for freshwater. City limits.
Part of that may have been, what you may have heard is the Denver well has been out of commission for a while, so we're only operating on 2 wells right now. The Denver well will be back up and running in September or October.
Okay. So your water,
We have 3 or 4 wells. We have 3 primary wells. And our big one right now is the one that's doing really, we expanded it.
to the 24?
No.
It's smaller.
It's huge. 10 inch. It's a
10
10 inch.
It's a significant.
18?
I used the wrong number.
And that's in the den?
Yes.
A couple things that are of interest in that we're doing that I think would be meaningful for you to know about. Number 1, Wednesday, a letter, I think drafted by Larry and some other very smart folks. We are going to ask and maybe we can describe it as USGC.
USGS,
I keep mispronouncing it.
Geological Survey, we put an RFP out to put in test monitoring wells across the breadth of the county in order to monitor the aquifer depletion. Without that knowledge, we're shooting at the dark. We're really, and it was amazing to me to come to the state and say, where's the water plant? Well, we don't have, and all of a sudden there's a great deal of interest in developing that. So we have our part of it, and we have a resource here that's finite. They're basically closed off. So we need to know where we stand in order to make sensible decisions for growth.
Well, I think we can give you our resources. We cambered our lines. We know the water level.
Right.
And just a couple months ago, I had my pump in it. And I had put it up for 15 years. So after I got crying and wringing my hands, I called them and they came out and put in the new pump. And, one of the logical questions I asked was, where's the water table at and where was it, in my old paperwork. And for me, fortunately, I was drawn to the 190 and sitting at 280 and I dropped 10 feet in about 15 years. The last few weeks ago, I went and got a tour of the Parker Water Sanitation District. One of the last things I did was a wonderful tour. I got to take some pictures of this reservoir. 27,000 gallons of water coming into the reservoir per minute, excuse me. And I said to them, we're all sitting around the table, we're kind of close in, I'm thanking everybody for the tour. I said, let me ask you guys a question. I said, I heard a rumor that you're dropping 30 feet a year in your water table. Rumor. Well, I know the engineer looks at me and goes, no, it's only 28. This was great. It makes me feel a lot better. But they're on the edge of our county. And so these are important questions. And they're developing incredible infrastructure out there, building the water treatment plant there. The it's gonna be state-of-the-art, ceramic fingers that take out microorganisms. It's incredible. We're investing millions and millions and millions of dollars for reasons. And so, you know, these are long-term questions and long-term issues for our county, and we have to all be working on those issues and questions together. I just got appointed to the Metro Basin Roundtable.
Right, that's the one that I was on.
Were you on that? And I'm excited about being there.
You're on the south.
No, on the South Platte.
You're on South Platte. Well, I just got
Back to the other.
now because they don't get along. I thought they were all working on the same thing.
There's a seat open for an Elbert County municipality too, and that's one of the things I talked to the board about.
Right, and I'm aware of that, and I think it would be incredibly
But I think Larry, you were at the same time as that, right? Round table?
Up in Loveland?
No, it was down in Denver.
Where?
You were there?
He's on the South.
No, you were there before you were left.
That meeting, I don't
You were
know.
both there.
Oh, up in Denver, the area? Sure. Yeah, I've been trying to, make as much time as I can on the water issues.
But if we have the infrastructure to service the development, in fact, we already designed and built it to do that. Our water treatment plant also has an ability to go recycle and utilize the water. And we could put requirements in there. We're talking about the car washes and landscaping.
One of the options,
For breaking spray water?
Yeah.
one of the options, the school has a well there, and they use significant amount of waters for the ball fields. It's right next to the treatment plant. I mean, there's a perfect opportunity there.
Right.
But I was gonna ask you, your water treatment plant now, so you only restore to gray water quality?
Oh.
It does, or does it
No.
go back,
No,
does it go back?
Goes
in?
way back.
No, it goes back directly into the creek.
It has to go back in the creek, obviously, yeah,
But
but
it's
that's,
higher than gray water.
okay, so you do take it back to where you can put it back in the creek?
Yes,
That's why Michael's so picky about what you put down in the drain.
yes.
Hey, what are you throwing?
Yeah.
Oh, I know,
A lot of people, the plant has the ability to do whatever we need to down the water. In fact, we're
Yeah.
building
I'd
an
really like to see
infrastructure.
it, now that I've understood it, I'd love to see it, because I think that's really important. And, you know, what they're doing over there, there's 80,000 homes feed that plant over in Cotton. And they're putting out 1.3 million gallons a day. It's cleaning 1.3 million. Now, you know, the regulations in 2014 are going into some standards of serious stress. But in the meantime, we're putting 1.3 million gallons back into the creek. And I said to them, I said, I never see anything more than a trickle. Where's that 1.3 million going? So then they take me to the place where they dump it in the creek and 10 feet down and take it back out. Because the government regulations require that you got to put it back in the natural creek, but you can take out the same amount. So they got the dumper going here, and they got the straw over here, and the creek never changes.
Or they sell.
I said, government.
Aurora does the same.
Another great example of government work, but Aurora does the same, that's right.
There's a lot of shell games going on with regard to use basically South Platte River water and lacking new water projects, perhaps sharing with the West Slope and so forth. We're chasing our tail right now, and that's why I bring up the issue of utilizing oil and gas revenue to develop water projects while the opportunity is there. The need will always be there. The desire to grow beyond our water limits is always going to be there. So that's something that.
Well, that's one of the things I think the last commissioner board was a little hesitant in working with us. One of the master plan, one of the IGA issues that we looked at, any property that we would annex into the town, we typically require them to surrender their water rights to the town. Not because we're trying to be water grabbers, it's because we need to make sure that they don't sell it to the guy that wants to pipe it down to, the hunter or whatever. We want to be able to say, look, we've got control of all these water rights. We're only going to hold what we need. But that is I see it as a protection for the county.
Mine is
I think the
groundwater,
last
so I
commission
think-
was kind of like we were trying to steal water. That was not.
That's pretty standard for any water district.
Well, they didn't-
Any water
they didn't
district in
understand.
an inclusion agreement will always ask for surrender of
Right.
water underneath the ground that they're including in their district.
Because we don't want to put in 12 wells when we can service it with 3 or 4. For the very reason you're
Yeah.
talking about.
The inefficiency. A lot of people came out here tonight to Anybody in the audience have questions? Or are we just that entertained?
Just a point of information. I believe that Carrie May is still part of the bottom-up economic development stuff.
I'm actually probably taking her spot.
Oh, okay, very good.
Probably.
We're all
She
set.
needs, I'm trying to give her a break. She's on so many
Okay,
boards.
so you're taking, okay. Very
That's
good.
what it looks like, but I'll fill you in and whether or not that takes place.
Okay, thanks.
Carrie is good, she's very good.
I know, she needs a pressure relief valve, just to get her off the board or two.
Somebody else?
Bob's reporting back to his HOA. Did you have anything? God forbid.
No, not really, not at this point.
Okay.
I'm just here for information.
Mr. Woodard?
No, sir.
Mr. Wall?
It said in the Ranchland News a couple weeks ago, Commissioner Slater was quoted as saying you were going to talk about a water umbrella tonight over the special districts. It was in the reported in the Ranchland News.
I don't know what that is. I used one last night, it was raining, the order.
Well, Beth was that?
Yes, she was.
Jill, I think we all have to keep our eyes wide open to who was it in this room that told me that money flows uphill towards water or vice versa. This is the trend in the future is going to be to mine the water in Elbert County. People that own their water rights have every right to do that. But it's something to keep a real close eye on how that's going to be constructed and what kind of form that takes, because you can cite other counties and states that have been dried out in that manner. So there you go.
You know, this is a bit of an, but
I was just wondering, what did you see as a water umbrella?
I don't know what a water umbrella is. It was in bookmarks in the Ranchland News. I've got the
It's
picture.
been in the Ranchland News, it's in several places. Schlegel implicated the Board of County Commissioners as talking about with the town of Elizabeth a water umbrella for special districts.
I don't even know what that is.
I didn't even know that.
If it's in the paper, it must be true.
Did you just say something
Well,
about
I think it's a little further than that.
municipality water getting coming together? Didn't you just say that?
No, I said when a municipality or a water district, whatever, that's a special district too, moves its boundaries and says, I will provide service to your property because you're on the edge of it, and you're like, okay, cool, I have now water and sewer. In general, it's always standard that you would relinquish the water rights to the service district that is now servicing your property. The Pioneer does it. I was just using it as an example that that's a fairly standard
You know,
practice.
one thing, we're gonna break up, and I don't want to turn it into because it really wasn't a published. I don't want to subject everybody to individual questions, but let me say one last thing. I think in terms of Larry was on one water roundtable, and I've joined the other one. I'm a rookie, of course. But one of the things I learned very quickly in my first meeting, that's one of the folks the other day, is that Governor Hickenlooper has ordered the roundtables, the basins. There's 9 basins in Colorado, and the one that I'm on actually is the only one that doesn't have its own basin. It's the Front Range, but it's the one with all the most users, Boulder and the Denvers, and the ones that are really, really thirsty. And I think that's going to be an interesting place to be. His edict to the 9 basins,
Executive order.
executive board, is that he wants a state proposed water plan by 2014. And that might not necessarily be as friendly to rural counties like we are, who are on limited aquifers resources. So it's good to be there and be in the game, but the wars in Colorado that have been fought, most of them have been over water.
Ag dry is part of the strategy, Lisa.
I just had a quick question. You guys can just say yes or no, or you can abstain. And then I had a suggestion for the city of Elizabeth. Robert and Larry, do you guys know, or do you have any plans or discussions so far about the county having a county-wide water district?
See, that was the
Yes,
implication
I know.
that you're all referring to.
Right.
I can't speak for Commissioner Schlegel, but the notion of a water authority that would
For the
have
county
an
water.
overarching authority over metropolitan districts and
Over
others
all the residents of the county.
is
is what I-
an idea which would be favored by particular groups of people that are in the water business. Okay, whether that's a sensible thing for us to do, as we are all rather independent folks that like to have some control over our future livelihoods in this county.
Right.
That's why that would be controversial, but I'm not going to speak for Commissioner Schlegel or any comments he made about some sort of water authority. I don't know anything about it yet.
That was not discussed at the last.
I was
The
just
purpose
gonna,
of this meeting is to develop a relationship with the municipality, to try to nurture a relationship that I think in years past hasn't always been as cooperative and as forthcoming as necessary. And we all decided it's time to get together and try to identify some common goals and figure out how we can help each other. And that's really been the purpose of this meeting. It's been an open forum. It hasn't been agenda driven. It's been let's get to know each other.
We know each
Some
other.
cheese
now we
pizza.
know action plans.
Brian, you want to get something done.
I do. I mean, I don't want to sit here
Well, before
chat with you
board
every
comes around,
month,
it
Robert,
becomes-
and then keep doing it. And I
What, you
think,
don't want to?
I do like to chat, but I actually.
Yeah.
well, what I was gonna suggest is that in being, we have a family with children and stuff here, and just in talking in our circle of other friends, residents of Elizabeth, that we know, we've all thrown around a lot of ideas about, more activities for kids, which would help draw people here. If you had, an ice skating rink or a swimming pool, any kind of a rec center sort of thing, or even things that don't cost a lot of money. Like if you do, in other places we've lived, towns do it and it's a big draw, is even if you have things, like Littleton has concerts in the park, you could have a Casey Jones to bring people in, you could have movies in the park, like every, even just summer things like that don't cost the city, the town of Elizabeth, a lot of money to do, like say, as opposed to a rec center would be a huge capital investment for the town of Elizabeth. But if you did other things that maybe weren't so cost so much, like if you did movies in the park, or if you did an ice skating rink just in the winter months, you could have it, at Evans Park, or something to help, and I think that once the town of Elizabeth, I think if you guys get a plan for the town itself to bring more people in and make it more of a place where people want to come, then you're probably going to have much more leverage at the county level to say, look, we're bringing these people in, we need more involvement from the commissioners at the county level for things like a countywide bike park, or bike, lane, or countywide trails for horse riding, or whatever. But I think that, you can get cooperation from them at some point, but I think it's also going to need to start with you at the town level, where you guys need to make some decisions and say, no matter what the county does, this is what we're going to try and do to make Elizabeth more of a viable town. And
Well,
then
that's
we
why
can
the
go to
Eason-
them.
That's why the Eason building was purchased,
Right.
and why we're trying to take steps to figure out how to make that downtown area.
Right, exactly. But I think that you guys can do that. You guys can do that yourselves and do that, and then you will be able to leverage them to help you more as you expand.
So when's your next town hall meeting?
Tuesday.
Come on down. Go on down.
Have you been to Parks and
I'm
Rec?
just saying,
We're gonna break our meeting at 8 o'clock, and it's hot, people got things to do.
Have you been to Parks and Rec?
When's our next meeting? When's our
Wait,
next
this
meeting?
is an open forum here, so let's, we're just calling on almost everything already. So I want to talk about the action plans that I saw come out of this, so we know what we're going to have when we come back in here. So
Do we want to have
I
another
see.
group of us and a separate meeting, or something else, or we want to?
Who wants to,
Right.
I will work with somebody to coordinate the next meeting to format it in such a manner that it focuses on the issue, the title subject of intergovernmental cooperation.
And there would be different.
Yeah, and we'll go from there.
I would suggest that you probably work with Dick, the my suggestion is very clear.
Yeah.
You would work with Dick
And the attorneys.
and the attorneys or something like that. So if that's our plan for the next workshop.
I think it's gonna be pretty simple over the phone, because then I'll try to get, maybe we can get, I'll play around and see if we can get some folks here. We'll make it a focused, short agenda with hopefully some guidelines to try to keep us on track. And we go from there.
Diana, since it's a timely topic, and I'll help you as much as I can. Do a little bit of an outreach. Other towns that have been along State Highway 85, 50, whatever road, and figure out where they've gone wrong, where they've gone right, with respect to creating a commercial industrial loop bypass, because you're not the only two-lane state highway that's running through the town. It's going to be a bottleneck. So I think I'd like to be part of that outreach. So
Isn't that kind of a subset of that?
I agree, right? That may be a,
I think that's probably a separate effort, but an important
Woodland
Yeah,
Park.
let's
so-
get the ball, let's get
Yeah.
started with the overall goal of deciding what is the viable way to move forward, intergovernmental cooperation, revitalization, whatever we want to call it. Let's start with the title.
One thing that we're doing though is we're in the middle of our budget workshop sessions right now too. So we need to coordinate that with those dates. So as far as the date, we can let you know what
I
dates.
think we can without scheduling one, but we're calling for and see if that is important.
Yeah, why don't we take it upon ourselves to set a date the next, find out when so, because it might be built around these things.
Right.
I'll call Craig also.
But also we have action for the blueprint, right? The people are going to that tomorrow.
I'm going to.
So that's something that we need to also have on the agenda at time.
She'll report back to you and I'll report back to them.
And then to get the gas and rate ordinance to the BOCC and bring it to our agenda so we can use it.
Yeah, we probably consider it sooner out, because the other thing is, I understand what you're saying. How can we control something at a higher level? So it's more of the use, zoning use and regulation of the town.
And then you're gonna get with Rick. You're gonna get with Rick. You're gonna get with Rick on the back taxes. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's
I'm
all.
sorry.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to holler at me.
Okay.
I'm a lip reader and you're not good.
That's why
All right.
I
She's subtle.
I don't know with you, but I'm tired of the top, and,
Go home.
thank you.
I hope somebody's fed the animals.